Hey y'all, welcome back to Adventuring with Amanda. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Today I am talking about my recent endeavor of looking into purchasing a high-top van. I think that many of you are in agreement with me that the minivan camper is best for my situation, and it is, and I kind of want to just dive a little bit more into that. I recently made a video that I went and test drove a Ram ProMaster. I have some van repairs on the table right now. The cost is around $2,000. And after it's repaired, I need a new cylinder head. After it's repaired, I'm going to have my inspection done to get an extended warranty. So that's next on the list. And I decided that that is ultimately cheaper than purchasing a new van, especially because, this van is much cheaper than a high top. And I figured that I wanted to go test drive a ProMaster or just a high top van in general, just to get a feel for it, just to see if I even like it, just to, kind of allow myself that experience because I had never driven one before. So I went to a dealership and I did test drive a ProMaster 2019, and I took it on a nice long test drive on the highway. I really wanted to get a feel for it. And it was really different. It was a really unique experience. It definitely, gives the feel that you're driving a cargo van, right? I felt like in the driver's seat, my minivan is much more comfortable. And ultimately, I don't think I would have purchased a ProMaster. I probably would have gone the route of a Ford Transit because they are just better vehicles if I were to get a high top. Ultimately, I decided against it. I'm in a situation where I can buy one. I have good credit, good financing options. So it's not really a matter of that. And ultimately, though, it is cheaper to stay in my minivan. And for many, many reasons. First of all, I really like being able to essentially have a daily driver as my minivan camper. It's just so easy to get around everywhere, whether I'm in the city or camping, on BLM land or national forest in the middle of nowhere. It's just much easier to traverse the landscapes in a minivan camper. It's also much easier to stealth camp. I've done a lot of stealth camping in the past because Wynston and I have driven to 34 states together, and I've had to do a lot of stealth camping east of Texas, essentially. I've even stealth camped on the streets of California. And in the 3 years I've been doing this, I've never gotten a knock. Never, ever, ever once have I gotten a knock on my door to tell me to move, because it just looks like a simple old minivan. Even with the rooftop box, it kind of gives there's a family traveling in that minivan vibe. I've even slept in hotel parking lots and I've never gotten the knock. So I know that happens a lot more frequently in high top vans because people assume that they're converted into campers. That's often the case. The gas mileage would have been very similar on the minivan and the ProMaster. It's actually the same engine. ProMaster is a little lighter, but then you have to consider the fact that I would have to build it out. Now, if I were to get a high top van, I would do a minimalist no build, kind of like I did in this van. But ultimately, when I was standing in the van and I was kind of walking around and getting a feel for it, and that one even had insulated walls already, I was like, man, I'm going to have to do something with the floors. I'm going to have to bolt stuff down. Like, where am I going to attach stuff to? I'm going to have to drill here and do that. Whereas in my minivan, everything's like kind of bungeed or strapped to something because there's already stuff in here to secure my items. So even doing a no build concept probably would have made me spend, a couple $1,000s just on the parts and adding what I needed to add just to secure everything. Because I also noticed that, the cargo van, it kind of makes a lot of noise, and you can feel the wind a lot more on the highway because it is a higher top. Also, A friend said to me in January, because he was complimenting my rig, and he's like, I just think the minivan is such a good way to go, because ultimately the point of van life is to be outside. And for me, it is. Like, the point of van life is to explore and to be out in nature and to adventure. I'm not one to sit in my van all day, ever. Even the 2 years I was completely solo, I was always outside. And the thing is, I have a dog, and Wynston, he likes to be in the van, in the morning for snuggles or in the evening for snuggles when we're done with our day. But throughout the day, he's outside. So the ability to stand up in the van, as nice as it sounds, here and there, like, I'm always out of my van. And I live in a state where we don't have snow in the winter out in Quartzsite and in the desert. It doesn't rain a lot at all, ever. We don't have inclement weather really at all. I mean, it's just so rare. So I'm always outside. And because of that, the minivan's perfect for me. I don't need to stand up. Like, maybe if you live in a place like Oregon where it rains all the time, like, I could see it. But also, I think that van life wouldn't be very fun in a state like that, because I'm just not into that weather. Just personally. So, being in Arizona, you can be outside a majority of the year. Yeah, it's warm right now. Even in northern Arizona, in the high 80s, but in the shade with the breeze, it's absolutely gorgeous. We have 10% humidity. It's absolutely nothing. It's so dry. It makes a big difference. It's really easy to stay cool. So the fact that I'm outside so much does not really, it's hard to make sense of paying that much money for a vehicle just to stand up in it. Like, that's really the only benefit. And I guess the other benefit would be, like, having someone else in my van, like my mom, and that's maybe like 3 days a year. So, it just doesn't make sense. I couldn't make it make sense. Even when I was leaving the dealership and I was like, oh yeah, that was fun, I was like, no, I love my van. It doesn't make sense for me to spend $45,000 on a vehicle just to stand up. I could not make it make sense. Plus, I just paid off all of my credit card debt, so I'm saving $250 a month on those payments, and that's like the difference of what the cost would be between my minivan now and a high-top van. So I want to save that $250 every month. I want to put that in savings. I don't want to have to spend it on a vehicle. It just, it's not going to work out. If I was full-time and I didn't have a home base, it would probably make a little more sense. But again, I always plan on having a home base. I don't think that I will ever be 100% full-time, especially, I just don't want to. The balance, I need to have the balance of having that home base, especially since I am an Arizona resident. There are a lot of factors to consider, and it's something that I've been thinking about now for about 6 months, but I have completely now ruled out getting a high-top van. I want to fix this van up. It only has 90,000 miles on it, and I want to drive it for another 90,000 and keep making it work with Wynston, especially because I love my van. I've made it so pretty and it's so homey and it's cozy. It's just my little hippie caravan. And I think I would be really sad if I got rid of it. And I felt like after leaving the dealership, it would have been the wrong decision. Now, granted, the salesman was very persistent, and he came back the next day with like a screaming deal on a 2020 ProMaster with, 40,000 miles on it, but it's not for me. It's not for me. I'm going to keep driving my minivan, loving my minivan camper, and Winston's comfortable in it too. And I was even thinking about it yesterday, like when I went through the Raising Cane's drive-through to get chicken, I was like, man, I just love sitting in my front seat. Winston's in his bed. We're just chilling, eating our chicken tenders. Yeah, would it be nice to walk back to the back of my van? Yeah, sure, but ultimately I can crawl to the back if I have to. No big deal. Not worth the extra $25,000 for the high top. So that's my reasoning. I'm sticking with my minivan camper. Final decision, final answer, that's it. So thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you guys giving me your comments and letting me know how you feel about the situation. It seems like most of you are in line with my thinking. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time.